Hello, you fragrance lovers out there. It's Sunday morning, and what do I do on a Sunday morning? Well, I've done some chores, but I've also been like sniffing quite a few perfumes, and I thought I'd share some of them with you. I just recently broke my no-buy that's been going on since December when this fragrance popped up kind of in my feed, in my Facebook group, my local Facebook group, and it was secondhand and it was quite a good price. So I decided to buy it, and it is 400 from Xerjoff. And the first thing that happened was when I sprayed it, it was like, wait a minute, what have I done? It was nothing like I remembered it. I mean, it was similar to what I remembered, but it was still, there was something disturbing, especially in the opening. So it has this bitter orange note that I really thought was kind of one of the, the good things about this fragrance. But then, I think the problem was it reminded me of Mandarin from Serge, which used to be like one of my favorite fragrances. But then kind of with time, I started to discover that it was not like a real fresh orangey scent, but more of a spicy, ambery, a little bit bitter scent that reminds me like of a Campari, that drink that's kind of like bitter. It's like the rind of an orange. I don't know. But I think also when I looked at the note breakdown, I think it's the nutmeg combined with these orangey kind of notes. It has like Chinese orange, which it's a note not really familiar with, and orange peel. And I think combined with the nutmeg, I just kind of got real bored with that or something. I used to consider it kind of a freshie, and it is absolutely not a freshie. Anyway, so I did find that it kind of resembles 400, but I did like a real side by side. Like I put like 3-4 sprays on each like forearm and just compared them, the opening, the dry down, and this is way, way better, although there are similarities for sure, because it is more vanillic, it is more floral. Mandarin doesn't even note any special florals. Rose hip, but that's not really, that's kind of like these dried, it's not really a floral note, I would say. But this is a little bit honey, it's tropical, it's a little bit tobacco-ish. It's different, but in the beginning, they resemble each other more than in the dry down. But then when that vanilla starts coming through and you can smell like the ylang ylang and it goes tropical, then I find that I'm actually quite happy with this. And I have worn it a few times, and I have really enjoyed its performance and the way it wraps me up. So I'm really happy about it after all. But at first I was like, oh no. And this has happened to me before. Like I try a sample and then I get a full bottle and it's like even new. And I thought, is it really the same fragrance? And I'm thinking sometimes like you try a sample that's maybe, it could be 5 years old. It has been going around to people. Because in our community, the samples circulate quite well. And I think many people only spray them once and they realize this is not for me and they pass them on. So that maybe something happens to the juice. Here, I think I don't know what it is or if it is the same. And then one thing that bothered me a little bit is that it is quite like fuzzy, like it's like, I get that cashmere on kind of vibe, like it's not transparent. And I don't typically like that. I don't know. I'm not as thrilled as I thought I would be, but I think it's going to grow back on me. That's the feeling I get from this. And I definitely think that it does share the DNA from Xerjoff's other kind of floral fragrances, like this opera that I have. And now I have actually 3 in this size. I also have Dhajala, which I really highly recommend. I really love this fragrance. It's kind of an herbal, ambery floral. It's so good. I wish I had more left than this because these are expensive. Actually, the Join the Club line is a little bit cheaper than these other ones. And then from the line, from Xerjoff, I also have Decas, which I, strangely enough, really love but never wear. Or I very seldom reach for this anymore. I think it's because I have it all figured out and I'm kind of like, I'm so intrigued by trying new fragrances that's what I spend my time doing. And then, I only have so much skin. Okay, so this morning I tried Nuit de Sable from BDK Perfumes on one arm. And then on the other I had, let's see, what did I have? oh yeah, I had Reve d'Ossian from Oriza Legrand, which is kind of this gothic style perfume. It's kind of I get that vibe. They're like incensey fragrances, kind of a little bit different. They have a special niche, kind of in the niche world. I guess it's more like artisan. But these Nuit de Sable is too much nutmeg. It's kind of a sandalwoody, nutmeggy kind of fragrance. To me, it's like I say this a lot. I found myself saying this a lot lately, but it's like only base notes. I get that feeling anyway, that it's like, it's okay, it has rose, and then it has the note of sand, which is kind of like, I guess, a kind of a mineral type of note that does give it kind of a little bit of a cold feeling in there, but it's very like non-sweet. I don't have it on anymore because I took a shower and I really scrubbed my arms because I wanted to try more fragrances. But it has like nutmeg in the top and in the base. And it has ambroxan, musk, and tonka in the base as well. And then sandalwood at the top with cardamom. So it's in two different kinds of rose. So it's really like I think, a masculine leaning sandalwoodish nutmeggy fragrance. And nutmeg, I think, is difficult in fragrance. It's a note that I'm not going to say I dislike it, because I really like the smell of nutmeg. I'm not sure I like it like on myself, and I don't like it in all combinations. Like in this Mandarin, I mean, I used to love it, and now I don't love it. And I think nutmeg might play a part in my like not liking it so much. But this is, I mean, this is a good fragrance. It's spicy, it's really woody, but it's not something that I would wear, I think. But it's not a bad fragrance from BDK. And then on this Reve d'Ossian, on the other hand, I really, really have been enjoying over breakfast. And it's kind of like a creamy, kind of wet, incensey fragrance that almost goes a little bit cakey to my nose. Like, it's not this cold, weird, or like, it's kind of, it's gourmand leaning, I think. Let's see what it has. Well, it has all these kind of resins. It has cinnamon, opoponax, different incense notes. It also has leather, some pine tree, and aldehydes. So it's kind of like a little fizzy and a little bit, I don't know, I just really, really enjoy it. It's like sweet in a really pleasant way. Well, someone wrote this thing with wet and creamy incense rather than like dry, because a lot of them are dry, and this one is a little bit more, I think it is a little bit cakey, but I can still smell the incense. So I really like this, and I'm going to be wearing all of this. That was that. And then I got to try, I can just tell you what I went out last night, kind of out to this place this bar where they play live music. And yesterday's fragrance was Absolute Aphrodisiac from Initio. And I really love this fragrance. I think it's so darn good. It's like a vanilla, chocolate, animalic, musky kind of fragrance. Oh, it's so good. I love this. I could see myself going full bottle on this, because this is really, really good. And this is perfect, like, for a night out. And I did get compliments. I mean, one I did. I mean, one is a lot, actually, because not many people in Sweden, like, comment other people's fragrance. I guess they kind of have to be drunk to dare say anything. That's a little bit like our culture here. People are very reserved. And then I tried, I tried yesterday, Promise from Frederick Malle. The original has like Arabic writing on the front, so it doesn't say like P-R-O, like promise, but I know this is it. This is too heavy. This is like a really, really strong, heavy fragrance with like animalic notes. I think like the main player is Nagarmotha, cypriol oil, and it's really, really powerful. And it has, I think, maybe some rose. It has some. There's something, I think it's castoreum. It's like really animalic too, and it's a little bit urine kind of like, and it's almost sour to my nose, but it's also really, really deep. And I also get this like feeling of mostly base notes. I could never wear this. I was almost a scrubber, but I finally I left it on, and then I kind of like started spraying things on top to kind of lift it up. I don't hate it. I think I might like it better on a man, but I could never wear this. So I don't think I will be wearing it in the future either. Then I had got two freshies too that are like a little bit masculine leaning, aromatic kind of freshies, and Rosendo Mateu #1, and from Jeroboam, Origino. And these are kind of like, both of these were like Oh, they're nice. They're nice, but they're not like they don't intrigue me super much. I don't feel like I would, have to go back to these fragrances. There's so many of this kind, and I don't typically buy these kind of fragrances. I just find them a little bit boring, a little bit kind of like classic, fresh barbershop masculine fragrance. It's really not my cup of tea. Okay, so I have now 3 other fragrances, or 4, to talk about that I really think that intrigue me. And one is Shangri-La that I'm wearing right now on one arm. And it is really growing on me. It's from Hiram Green that uses like a whole natural palette of fragrance notes, which is a little bit more difficult to work with, if I've understood correctly. Like to make florals that really last is more difficult. But this is like a Chypre. Some people say it reminds of Chypre Palatin, but I don't agree. I mean, I can see that part of it does, because this is kind of this like soapy, super floral, kind of like flowers in a hothouse, kind of feeling like dewy, but also like oak mossy, spicy, citrusy, kind of like it has peach, it has oak moss, it has all these like that classic kind of lineup from like that fragrances had like in the 80s and 90s, but this is kind of more modern, and I think it is really beautiful. I could see myself like getting a bottle of this, even though it's not a sexy fragrance. It's kind of like a beautiful fragrance. It's very natural. I mean, I've had it on like for a good hour, so I think I'm like at the dry down now. I mean, I really like it. I really like it. I don't know if I absolutely have to have it, but I will definitely be going through the rest of this. And I didn't know that Shangri-La was like the name of a make-believe city, like in a famous novel. I hadn't even heard that. But Shangri-La, I know there's a hotel called the Shangri-La Hotel in Malaysia where my dad used to play with his band. He's a jazz musician, and he used to go there all the time to the Shangri-La Hotel, like a 5-star hotel in Malaysia. That's kind of my association to this name, but I didn't know about Shangri-La as a concept. Okay, so this one I haven't worn that much, just a little, but it is incredibly beautiful, and it's called Serenity, and it's from a completely new house to me called Oman Luxury. Are you guys familiar with this house? I'm really curious to try more from this house. This is like an oud saffron rose. Is there patchouli in here as well? Yeah, there's patchouli, praline, but it's so like fine-tuned. I mean, like oud bouquet and Rose d'Arabi are like really loud fragrances in this category. This is so beautifully like perfumey, and I just have a tiny bit of it, and I'm just going to cherish these drops. I think it's just incredible. So good. Really, really like that. And I have worn it for a while, but I just tried it kind of a little. I was driving and I put it on my hand, and I just kind of drove along sniffing it, and I was just like, oh, this is so good. Really, really wonderful fragrance, and I love ouds right now. And speaking of oud, the next one is also an incredible oud, and it's called Oud Exclusif, and it's from Mancera. And my previous picture of Mancera and also Montal are like that the fragrances are not good, and they're synthetic, and they're too loud, and they're just like, haven't liked much from these houses, but I think they're related somehow. I'm not quite sure if the same owner or if they're just like two different collections and it's the same house. I'm not really sure, but Mancera, it's an EDP, and it's Oud spelled with an A, Oud. I have really found comfort in this fragrance when I'm like on my way home from work, where I take care of the sick and elderly. It's really, really hard work, and this is just so comforting to wear this. And when I've seen my schedule and I know who I'm going to be visiting that day, I also have sneaked some on. We're not really supposed to wear perfume. Or at least I know I have one customer that's told me off, and I know she's like super sensitive. But like this is, it is so soft and deep and beautiful. I don't know what else is in here. I'm guessing it's like saffron, and it's such a beautiful take on oud. Enjoying it so much. I don't know anything about the price point. I have to look it up, but I can't own all the ouds, all the good ouds, but this is really, really good. Then I have this really cute little sample. Look at this. It's got like little fake blood drops kind of dripping down. And I think everything from this is the house called, let me see, I keep saying this wrong. It's called like, didn't I put this down? No, I wasn't I guess it's on a different piece of paper. It's called from Adiola Van, Adi Aade Ale Van. So I think this is Romanian house, and all the stuff is like handmade, and I think it's quite pricey, this house. Okay, so this X-ray of hope, it says, but the name of the fragrance is okay. .U.M.B.R.E. So it's like U.M.B.R.E, but it's like, it's, I guess maybe it's an abbreviation for something. I'm not quite sure. But this fragrance is, I thought this would be really dark and really weird. Yeah, Adiola Van, in 3 words, is the name of the house. This is, I have it on this arm. Oh, it's different now than when I first sprayed it on. But when I first sprayed it on, it was like a kind of like a deep gourmand fragrance. It's a coffee fragrance, but I get chocolate too from it. But now I get something like stone-ish kind of feeling, like a cold stone wall with water on it or something. What is that? I didn't get that at first. People compare this to Follow from Kerosene, and I have smelled that, I think, at some point. This has changed a lot since I sprayed it on. This is, to me, also very base note heavy. It doesn't have much going on in the top to my nose. But it's kind of like resinous, coffee. It might have like benzoin. It might have, yeah, like incensey type of notes. But it has that little coldness in it. I don't know where that's coming from. I'm just saying, this is interesting to me. This is interesting to me. I wouldn't go full bottle. This is not the kind of fragrance that I would like, go out on a club and then smell like a coffee and kind of resinous coffee. A little bit boozy maybe. I have to spray it on one more time just to kind of get that opening again, because it's really, really different. It's very, maybe the reason I'm getting chocolate is that I associate like coffee fragrances with chocolate, like coffee shop-ish, and they have, pastries there and chocolate cake and stuff. Yeah, it's a little boozy. I find this a little boozy too. A little earthy maybe. I mean, it's interesting. I will definitely be using this. I think it's really interesting. And just an observation here, I don't very often make videos with like such a plain background. I have a hard time finding a plain space in my house to shoot my videos, because I have 3 young kids, and I mean, not young kids, they're young adults basically, but they have there's stuff everywhere, and I'm just not very good at keeping house. I'm hoping that like you can bear with me, and that it's what I say that it's more interesting than than things that might be going on in the background. I got some comments in the beginning, like, your dishwasher's open, please close it, and take away this, take away that. But if I would be a perfectionist about this channel, there would be no channel. So I just felt like I don't edit, I don't go overboard and like fixing the perfect, and I don't have like a huge collection to put like behind me with a perfect light and all this. My collection is, I mean, I showed you a few videos ago. That's all I have. It does change though. Like every 6 months, there will be like new bottles have come in. Some bottles have left the collection and so forth. But yeah, this is my channel, and I do what I want. I think it's really important to like just not be sponsored. Just say what I think. And people sometimes don't agree with me. Someone had commented like, how could I find squid, from zoologist, creamy or milky? I'd said something like that, but I do actually. I mean, I don't have a sample anymore, but like I remember it as being like marine and at the same time kind of like cookie like sweet. There's something. Creamy might not be the right word, but like vanillic or ambery, or like it's a weird, to me it was a kind of a clash between notes. But I think that's what's interesting in perfume. We get all different things, and one of the main reasons that I watch reviewers is not really to like find fragrances to go out and buy, because I never blind buy. It's more, sometimes I want to see what other people have, say that I'm like just received this and I don't know like what's bothering me about it. Then maybe I'll listen to some other people, and they might put it into words, and then I can, with my nose, then find it in this fragrance. And I like the way certain people describe fragrances. So it's not, I mean, my favorite reviewers don't necessarily have the same taste as I do, but they have a good, they can sort of pinpoint things that I can also find with my nose. I think that's, and also some people I just find more entertaining than others. But it is of course important that they share a little bit of the same taste. Like, I mean, there are some really good reviewers that mostly review designer fragrances, and I find designer fragrances really boring. I mean, there are exceptions, and I do myself review a designer here and there, but in general, I don't find, that those fragrances that interesting. I think that they're pretty similar, especially like what's marketed towards women. The masculine fragrances I find also quite boring and quite kind of like too similar to each other. They're not like, I just think niche has so much more to offer. I like when a fragrance kind of stays in its own category and smells like something and not like everything. I mean, I don't like solar note fragrance no, not solar note, it's like solo, what do you call it? They call it something. Like when a fragrance is built around one note. I don't typically like that so much, because I do think that perfumery is about, composition, like a composition of a fragrance. But when everything smells like everything, like the typical female offering out there is like fruity top, floral in the middle, and it has a little bit of a woody patchouli kind of base. That's it. That's what they all smell like to me. And now I think it's kind of popular to also throw in more sugar. Like sweet fragrances are quite in. Like gourmand is in, and maybe now a little bit more oriental leaning fragrances. But then I'd rather go to an oriental fragrance and get like the whole, like something that's like really, really nice. Anyway, do you agree with me about this designer and niche thing? Do you have a reviewer to recommend for me based on my taste and what I usually review on my channel? So please feel free to recommend one. I can recommend, I like Sam, My World of Fragrance. I think she's really good, and she's very knowledgeable, and she's been in this hobby, or I think she has another job. This is not her job, I don't think. But she has a lot. She's been in this hobby for many, many years, and you can really tell. And I do watch Sebastian, the perfume guy, a lot, because he basically, I don't think maybe he's the best reviewer because he's a note reader. I don't like when they list notes. I think it's really boring because I can look at that myself. But he's a stable, solid reviewer. He has everything. He's the first one usually to talk about new fragrances. So that's where I go just to kind of find what new is launching, what's coming up, so I can look for them like when I'm out shopping. And I appreciate that about him, that he basically like has everything. And I don't completely have his taste, but quite similar. I mean, we do have a lot. I find that his taste is quite like feminine, unisex leaning, and not so like classic masculine leaning. And he can also, I mean, I'm sure he gets so many free bottles, but I have heard him recently, he does say when he doesn't like something. So I do appreciate him for like doing everything and like keeping videos coming like daily. I think makes a huge difference too. So it's obvious that he puts a lot of time and effort into his job, because I'm sure it must be a job when you're at that point and you have several 100,000 subscribers. I'm going to recommend some other ones to you if you're interested next time. I have a tendency to forget what they're called, the names of the different channels, but I'm still kind of looking for the one that I can just, watch everything from, and just like, that would be fun. So I would like some recommendations. Okay, that was all for today.